Mom?
Oh, hi.
There you go. I do not work with my flashcards.
Then you better stop the video. Doesn't it have to be a solid?
They're right there on the counter.
Okay.
Doesn't it have to be a solid thing?
Yeah.
Then you better stop it and restart it.
Nope. That's fine.
Make the presentation.
Okay. When most people think of Florida, they may think of the Keys, Orlando, Disney, all that, the beach, Miami. But what they really should be thinking of is the Florida Everglades and the Keystone species that come with it. Also known as the river of grass, the 3 keystone species that I will be explaining today is the American alligator. We have the heron of various species that I'll be talking about, as well as mangroves, all colors that I'll also be talking about. Now, species 1 is the American alligator. So, the American alligator is one of 2 species, the other being the Chinese alligator, which is endangered. And they are very special to Florida because they make specifically what's called a gator hole. Now, research by Michelle Palmer shows that when it is dry season and it rains, they know to dig down using their snout and their tail, different from where they may lay eggs. And the rain will puddle down into almost like a pond. Now, this pond supports small fish species. It supports cooling of birds. It's Florida. It gets hot, and birds and fauna and even plants, everyone needs their water, and that is exactly what gators do. Now, how they also help the Everglades is by maintaining a perfectly balanced food web. So they are what's called an apex predator, which means they're the very top of the food chain. Nothing eats them. And so they eat things like turtles, birds, herons specifically on this graph. They also eat fish, raccoons, and even gator pups eat small frogs. And one thing that they also do is they eat the invasive species, the Burmese python, which is a very big problem in the Florida Everglades. Species 2 is the heron. So heron is a native bird to South Florida. And so right here, as you can see, we have the green heron, we have the great blue heron. On the top right, we have the great white heron, as well as the tricolored heron. Now, they all slightly vary in sizes, but they're all very closely related. So, point number 1 is that they also keep the food web / population balance in check, but they do it in a slightly different way that the alligators don't do, and some other birds also don't do. So, what these herons do specifically is they eat the smaller animals, such as smaller fish, like largemouth bass or common carp, catfish. They will eat frogs, they'll eat crayfish, they'll eat crabs, etc. Or on here, it says bait fish, frogs, and even small mammals like mice or voles. And they also show incredible signs of intelligence. So there was a study done by Dr. Evans from the Wilson Journal of Ornithology, and she discovered that herons of all colors and species have actually been found to fish with bread that they found on the ground in public areas. So, a quote by her: "It is also important to note that the great white heron was bait fishing in an area highly trafficked by humans. It is feasible that the heron may have been observed wading birds or humans, creating disturbances in the water, thus attracting prey." Now, this specifically is incredible because we haven't found many other bird species other than ravens or crows, which have also been known to have incredible signs of intelligence, use something like fishing. They are aware of their surroundings, aware of humans that can attract more fish, whether it's by regularly fishing or boats passing by. species number 3 is mangroves. Now, we all know that animals are important, but even more so is the mangroves that make up the majority of not only the Everglades, but most of Florida as a whole, especially on the coastline. So here we have the red mangrove. The red mangrove specifically is the ones you find when you go to the beach and you see mangroves. Those are always red mangroves. They are directly on the coastline. They get all the waves, all the crashes, all the storms. They are the first barrier that protects us from storm surges and hurricanes, high winds, all of that. Next up we have the black mangroves. Now these are what stabilizes the shorelines, where they're much more condensed, they're more spread out, but they're in a higher population. There's more black mangroves than red mangroves. And what they also do is they buffer the waves that we get from the storm surges because they're much more condensed. And so this is what protects things like our seawalls, our cities. If you live directly on the coast, then you want to make sure that you live near some black mangroves to avoid potential property damage. And number 3, we have the white mangroves. Now the white mangroves is what is the most inland, but it's still in the swampy area. And this is what does the water filtration. And so if you live in a brackish canal, for example, if you see mangroves, those are going to be white mangroves. They suck up all of that salt and they spit out that fresh water. And so that's what actually creates the brackish communities. One more thing that mangroves do, as I've previously said, is that they act as a border that protects our beaches, they protect our homes, they protect the wildlife. So if we don't have mangroves, then there could be large amounts of property damage from hurricanes, from other sources, mostly weather. But this was a quote from Dr. Asari. She said that it has been widely known that the first defense against environmental risks such as storms, tsunamis, waves, and coastal erosion that can save lives and property are these red mangroves. So, in conclusion, we've discussed how alligators protect wildlife and balance the large animal population. We see how great herons show intelligence and keep the small animal population down at a minimal to help offset that balance. And we also have how mangroves differentiate themselves and how both humans and animals greatly benefit by the structure of these mangroves. And these are my sources.